The room seemed to hold its breath when Zachary Quinn stepped inside. His presence so out of place in the church basement with its metal folding chairs and outdated fluorescent lighting. His Italian leather shoes clicked against the linoleum floor, designer suit perfectly tailored to his broad shoulders. But his eyes betrayed what his polished appearance concealed: hollowness, raw grief that even his billions couldn't fix. First time. A gentle voice came from his right as the group began to assemble. Zach turned to find a woman with warm amber eyes and dark hair pulled into a messy bun. She wore no makeup, just a simple cardigan and jeans, yet something about her presence commanded his attention. "That obvious?" he replied, his voice lower than intended. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "We all have that same look when we first arrive. I'm Olivia Santos." "Zachary Quinn," he said, waiting for the flash of recognition, the subtle shift that happened whenever people realized who he was: CEO of Quinn Technologies, one of the most valuable companies in the world. But her expression remained unchanged. "Well, Zachary Quinn, you picked the right chair. This one has the least amount of wobble." She patted the empty metal seat beside her. "That might not seem important now, but wait until someone starts sharing and you're trying not to make noise while ugly crying." Despite himself, Zach felt the corner of his mouth twitch upward. "Good to know." The facilitator, a soft-spoken woman named Elaine, called the group to order, and Zach found himself sitting beside Olivia. His assistant had suggested this group insisted, actually after finding him asleep at his desk for the third time in a week. 6 months after losing his younger brother Ryan to cancer, Zach was functioning but not living. The company was thriving under his leadership, but he was slowly disappearing. "Would anyone like to share tonight?" Elaine asked after the introduction. Zach kept his eyes fixed on his expensive shoes. He hadn't come to talk. He'd come because his assistant had threatened to quit, and finding someone else who could manage his impossible schedule seemed too exhausting. "I'll start," Olivia said beside him, her voice steady yet vulnerable. She spoke about her husband, Michael, who had died 14 months ago in a car accident. She described waking up that morning, kissing him goodbye, never imagining it would be the last time. How she'd picked up his dry cleaning 3 days later because the notification had come to her phone and she couldn't bear to cancel it. "I thought I would be better by now," she confessed, twisting a simple gold band on her finger. "But yesterday I found myself talking to him while making dinner. Just talking like he was there, asking if we needed more salt." She laughed softly. "I don't think that ever stops, does it?" The group murmured in understanding. Zach remained silent, but something inside him resonated with her words. How many times had he picked up his phone to text Ryan before remembering? When the session ended, Zach rose quickly, eager to escape the rawness of the room. But as he turned to leave, Olivia touched his arm. "First rule of Grief Club," she said. "We get coffee after. It helps wash away the heaviness." "I have work," he replied automatically. "At 9:30 on a Tuesday?" She raised an eyebrow. "Even CEOs need breaks." His eyes widened slightly. "You know who I am." "I Googled you when you introduced yourself," she admitted with a shrug. "Old habits from my reporting days, before I opened the bookstore." There was something refreshing about her directness. He found himself nodding. One coffee. The diner across the street was nearly empty. They sat in a booth by the window, steam rising from ceramic mugs between them. "So," Olivia said, stirring cream into her coffee, "what brought you to the group?" "My assistant's ultimatum." She laughed, the sound genuine and bright in the quiet diner. "At least you're honest." "My brother," Zach finally said, the words catching. 6 months ago." She nodded, not pushing for more. 6 months is nothing. The world expects you to be fine by now, doesn't it? The board certainly does. "Ah yes, Nothing says move on like quarterly projections. She took a sip of coffee. What was his name? Ryan. Saying his name aloud to someone who didn't already know felt strange. He was 31. Too young, she said softly. He was the better one, Zach continued, surprising himself. Everyone loved Ryan. I was always the serious one, focused on the business, while he trailed off, remembering his brother's easy laugh. He knew how to live. And now you feel guilty for being the one still here, Olivia finished. Zach looked up sharply. How did you? Survivor's guilt is pretty common, she said, especially between siblings. They talked until the waitress started stacking chairs on tables. Zach couldn't remember the last time he'd spoken to someone for hours without checking his phone once. Same time next week? Olivia asked as they stood outside the diner. I'll be there, Zach replied, surprised to realize he meant it. For the next month, Tuesday nights became sacred on Zach's calendar. He attended the grief group, and afterward, he and Olivia would talk over coffee. Sometimes about their lost loved ones, sometimes about nothing important at all. He learned she owned a small independent bookstore called Prose and Poems, which she'd bought after leaving journalism. She learned he'd built Quinn Technologies from a startup in his garage to a global leader in renewable energy solutions. You never talk about your company in the press, she remarked one evening. I prefer to let our work speak for itself. Noble but mysterious. Makes people wonder what you're hiding. He smiled. Maybe I just value privacy, says the man who shares his deepest feelings with a stranger every Tuesday night. You're hardly a stranger anymore, Olivia. Their eyes met across the table, and something shifted between them, an acknowledgement that whatever was developing here was more than grief buddies supporting each other. The following week, Zach didn't show up at the group. Olivia checked her phone throughout the session, but no message came. She tried not to feel disappointed as she walked to the diner alone. Ms. Santos, a man in a suit, approached her outside the diner. Yes, Mr. Quinn sends his apologies. There was an emergency board meeting. He asked if you would join him. The man gestured to a sleek black car at the curb. Curiosity overcame her hesitation. 20 minutes later, the car pulled up to a gleaming high-rise with Quinn Technologies illuminated across the top floor. Security escorted her to the executive elevator. She felt underdressed in her jeans and sweater as they ascended 60 floors. The doors opened directly into a vast office with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking view of the city at night. Zach stood at the window, his back to the door, suit jacket discarded and sleeves rolled up. He turned at the sound of the elevator, and Olivia saw the weariness in his expression transform into something warmer. You came, he said, crossing the room. Your mysterious summons was intriguing. She glanced around. Quite the upgrade from the diner. I'm sorry about the group. The board called an emergency meeting. He gestured to a sitting area where takeout containers waited. I thought we could still have our Tuesday tradition. Chinese food at $1 billion desk? She smiled. How could I refuse? As they ate, Zach explained the crisis, a potential security breach that threatened one of their newest projects. It's contained now, but I couldn't leave until we were sure. It must be exhausting, carrying that much responsibility. Zach paused, chopsticks midair. It used to energize me. The challenges, the constant problem-solving. He set down his food. Since Ryan, it's just felt hollow. Success doesn't mean what it used to. What did Ryan think of all this? She gestured to the empire around them. A genuine smile crossed Zach's face. He thought it was hilarious that his nerdy big brother became some tech mogul. He worked for the company's foundation, insisted on earning his own way. His expression softened with pride. He ran all our humanitarian initiatives. And now they're floundering without him. Zach sighed. I should step in more, but it hurts too much, Olivia finished. Their conversation drifted to lighter topics. Zach gave her a tour of the building, showing her innovations that wouldn't reach the market for years. In the research lab, he demonstrated a solar technology his team was developing that could revolutionize energy in developing nations. This was Ryan's baby, Zach explained, his fingers tracing the prototype. He wanted to bring sustainable power to communities that have been exploited by big energy. Olivia watched his face illuminate as he spoke about his brother's vision. You really believe in this, don't you? It's the most meaningful thing we've ever worked on. He met her eyes. Ryan wouldn't want it shelved because I can't bear to look at it. Then don't let it be. As Zach's driver took Olivia home that night, she felt a stirring of something she hadn't experienced since losing Michael Possibility. The following Tuesday, Zach arrived at the grief group early. He found Olivia already there, saving him a seat. I wasn't sure you'd make it, she said. I told my team Tuesday nights are non-negotiable. During the session, something unexpected happened. Zach raised his hand to speak. He talked about Ryan, about the guilt he felt for being so consumed with work during his brother's final months. How he'd promised to take Ryan to Japan when he went into remission, a trip they never got to take. I keep thinking about all the things I postponed, Zach said, his voice thick. All the someday plans that never happened because I thought we had more time. After the meeting, they walked to the diner in comfortable silence. As they settled into their usual booth, Olivia reached across the table and squeezed his hand. I'm proud of you for sharing tonight. Zach turned his hand to hold hers, a simple touch that felt monumental. It was time. Their hands remained linked as they talked, neither acknowledging the change yet both acutely aware of it. When they finally parted outside the diner, Zach hesitated. Would you have dinner with me Friday? Not coffee, not grief talk. Just dinner. Olivia felt a flutter of anxiety. Zach, It's okay if you're not ready, he said quickly. I understand. No, it's not that. She took a deep breath. I haven't been on a date since Michael. I'm not sure I remember how. His expression softened. We could figure it out together. She nodded, a small smile forming. Okay, dinner. Friday arrived with unexpected nervousness for both of them. Zach spent an embarrassing amount of time choosing a tie, while Olivia tried on nearly every dress she owned before settling on a simple navy blue one that Michael had always loved. Zach picked her up in a less conspicuous car than his usual, a vintage Aston Martin that had been his first splurge when the company went public. I thought about sending the rolls, he admitted as he opened her door. But that seemed a bit much for a first date. The billionaire version of playing it cool? She laughed. He'd made reservations at a small Italian restaurant tucked away on a side street, intimate without being pretentious. The owner greeted Zach by name and led them to a secluded corner table. You come here often? Olivia asked as they were seated. Ryan discovered it. He said it reminded him of the places we ate at when we backpacked through Europe after college. Zach paused. Is it weird that I'm talking about my brother on our date? Would it be weird if I mentioned that Michael would have ordered the lasagna and then eaten half of whatever I got too? Zach smiled. Not weird at all. They found themselves relaxing as the evening progressed, sharing stories about their lives before loss had changed everything. Olivia told him about her journalism career, investigating corporate corruption until a particularly dangerous story made her reevaluate her priorities. Zach described building his company from nothing, the early days when he and his first 3 employees worked out of his garage. So what made you buy a bookstore? He asked as they shared a tiramisu. I've always loved books. After Michael died, I couldn't bear to keep writing hard-hitting news stories. I needed something gentle, something that felt like hope. She traced the rim of her wine glass. The store was failing when I bought it. The owner was ready to retire, and no one wanted a bookshop in the age of e-readers. How's business now? Surprisingly good. We host community events, book clubs, children's reading hours. We're not getting rich, but we're sustainable. The pride in her voice as she described turning the business around reminded Zach of his own early days of entrepreneurship before the burden of being a public company, before the weight of thousands of employees depending on his decisions. As they walked to his car after dinner, Zach took her hand. The simple gesture felt significant. "Thank you for tonight," he said softly. "For what? Eating excellent pasta? For making me feel normal again." He stopped walking and turned to face her. "For months, I've been going through the motions. Tonight, for the first time since Ryan died, I felt present." In the soft glow of the streetlights, Olivia's eyes glistened with unexpected tears. "I know exactly what you mean." Zach reached up to brush a strand of hair from her face, his hand lingering against her cheek. The moment stretched between them, filled with possibility and hesitation. "I'd really like to kiss you," he said quietly, "but I'm not sure if that's." Olivia rose on her tiptoes and pressed her lips to his, answering his unfinished question. The kiss was gentle, tentative, both of them navigating unfamiliar territory. When they pulled apart, Zach rested his forehead against hers. "Was that okay?" he whispered. She nodded, unable to find words for the storm of emotions: guilt, joy, fear, hope swirling inside her. They began seeing each other beyond Tuesday nights. Zach found reasons to visit Olivia's bookstore, often arriving with coffee and staying to help shelve new arrivals or assist customers. Olivia occasionally brought lunch to his office, forcing him to take breaks from his punishing schedule. 3 months after their first date, Zach invited Olivia to accompany him on a business trip to Tokyo. "I need to finalize the Asian distribution for Ryan's solar project," he explained. "And I remembered telling you about that promise I made him. To take him to Japan," Olivia said softly. Zach nodded. "I thought maybe you could help me keep that promise in a way." In Tokyo, as cherry blossoms drifted through the air, they navigated the collision of business and pleasure. Zach attended meetings during the day while Olivia explored the city. In the evenings, they discovered tiny ramen shops and hidden gardens together. On their third night, after a successful meeting with investors, Zach returned to their hotel to find Olivia waiting with a surprise 2 tickets to a sumo tournament. "Ryan mentioned it was on his bucket list," she explained. "I found an email where you two were planning the trip. He was really excited about seeing sumo." Tears welled in Zach's eyes. "How did you—" "Your assistant helped me access his old emails. I hope that's okay." Instead of answering, Zach pulled her into a tight embrace. "I love you, Olivia," he whispered against her hair. "I wasn't planning to say that yet, but I do." She stiffened slightly in his arms. Pulling back, she met his gaze. "Zach, you don't have to say it back," he said quickly. "I know it's complicated." "It's not that." She took his hands in hers. "I think I've been falling in love with you for months, but saying it out loud feels like you're betraying him," Zach finished. She nodded, tears spilling onto her cheeks. "Is that crazy? It's been almost 2 years." "No." He pulled her close again. "I understand. We carry them with us. Live. Loving again doesn't erase what we had before." That night, as they watched enormous sumo wrestlers battle in an ancient ritual, Olivia leaned her head against Zach's shoulder. "I love you too," she whispered. So softly he almost didn't hear it over the roar of the crowd. But he did hear, and his arm tightened around her, anchoring them both in this new reality they were building together. When they returned from Japan, their relationship deepened. Olivia began spending weekends at Zach's penthouse, gradually leaving books and sweaters behind until his space became theirs. Zach started making appearances at her bookstore's events, anonymously funding a literacy program she dreamed of launching. 6 months after Tokyo, Zach invited Olivia to Quinn Technologies' annual charity gala, the first time they would appear publicly as a couple. The event honored Ryan's memory by raising funds for the foundation he had led. "Are you sure you want me there?" Olivia asked as she zipped up her gown, a midnight blue creation that made her feel simultaneously elegant and like an imposter. "This is a big deal for you. That's exactly why I need you there." Zach adjusted his bow tie in the mirror. "You understand what this means to me." The gala was held at the city's Natural History Museum, transformed for the evening with soft lighting and flowers. As they entered, Olivia felt the weight of curious stares. Zachary Quinn had never brought a date to the company's events before. Zach kept her close as they navigated the room, his hand a reassuring presence at the small of her back. He introduced her to board members, business associates, and longtime friends with a pride that made her blush. "So you're the reason our CEO has been leaving the office before midnight," remarked an older woman who Olivia learned was Zach's first investor. "Guilty," Olivia replied with a smile. "Thank God," the woman said, squeezing her hand. "We've been worried about him." Later in the evening, Zach took the stage to speak about the foundation's work. From her table near the front, Olivia watched as he addressed the crowd with a confidence that reminded her why he led one of the world's most innovative companies. "My brother believed that success was meaningless unless it improved lives," Zach said, his voice strong despite the emotion evident in his eyes. "When we lost Ryan last year, I nearly lost sight of that vision. But thanks to the dedicated team at our foundation and some help finding my way back, we're recommitting to Ryan's mission." His gaze found Olivia in the crowd, and the look they shared didn't go unnoticed by the attendees. After the speech, as they shared a quiet moment in a secluded corner of the museum, Zach pulled a small box from his pocket. "This isn't what you think," he said quickly, noting Olivia's wide eyes. "Not yet, anyway." He opened the box to reveal a delicate gold key. "My lake house," he explained. "It was Ryan's favorite place. I haven't been back since he died, but I thought maybe this weekend we could go together." He took a deep breath. "It's time to make new memories there." Tears blurred Olivia's vision as she took the key. "I would be honored." The lake house was stunning, a modern structure of glass and wood nestled among towering pines, with expansive views of the water. Yet beneath its beauty, Olivia could feel Zach's tension as they entered. "Ryan and I built this place," he explained, setting down their bags. "Hired professionals for the complicated parts, but we did a lot of the work ourselves over a few summers." Memories lingered in every corner, in the slightly uneven deck railing they'd installed during a thunderstorm, in the kitchen island where they'd carved their initials underneath, in the collection of board games with handwritten house rules. That first night was difficult. Zach moved through the space like a ghost, touching objects that held significance only he understood. But as the weekend progressed, something shifted. They swam in the cool lake, hiked the surrounding trails, and cooked elaborate meals in the kitchen while music played. On Sunday morning, Olivia found Zach sitting on the dock, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise. "Room for one more?" she asked. He smiled and made space beside him. They sat in comfortable silence, the golden light spreading across the water. "Thank you for this weekend," Zach finally said. "For helping me reclaim this place. Thank you for sharing it with me." She leaned against his shoulder. "It's beautiful here. Ryan always said this was where I was most myself." He turned to look at her. "He would have liked you, you know. Probably would have teased me mercilessly about dating someone so out of my league." Olivia laughed. "I think Michael would have approved too. He always said I needed someone who could match my stubbornness." High praise from both of them, Zach said, wrapping an arm around her. As they drove back to the city that evening, Olivia noticed a subtle change in Zach, a lightness that hadn't been there before, as if sharing the lake house had lifted some of the burden he carried. Over the following months, they settled into a rhythm together. Tuesday grief support sessions became less frequent as they found healing in their shared life. Olivia's bookstore thrived with the addition of a cafe and expanded children's section. Zach delegated more responsibilities at work, making time for what truly mattered. A year after their first date, they returned to the lake house for a long weekend. Zach seemed unusually nervous as he suggested a sunset boat ride, checking the weather obsessively and changing his sweater twice. Out on the water, with the sky painted in brilliant oranges and pinks, he cut the engine and let the boat drift. "Remember when we first met?" he said. "And you asked what brought me to the grief group?" Olivia nodded, watching him curiously. "I went because I was drowning in loss and couldn't see a way forward." He took her hands in his. "I had no idea that walking into that church basement would change my life completely." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "Olivia Santos, you brought me back to life when I thought that part of me had died with Ryan. You showed me that it's possible to honor the past while building a future." He opened the box to reveal a vintage emerald ring surrounded by diamonds. "Will you marry me?" Tears spilled down Olivia's cheeks as she nodded, unable to speak for a moment. "Yes," she finally managed. "Yes, of course, yes." As he slipped the ring onto her finger, she asked, "The emerald?" "It was my grandmother's," he explained. "Ryan kept it for me. He made me promise I'd only use it when I found someone worth changing my life for." His eyes met hers. "I did." They married 6 months later in a ceremony that honored both their past and future. Olivia wore Michael's watch on a chain around her neck. Zach kept Ryan's favorite book in his jacket pocket. But their vows spoke of new beginnings and the unexpected gift of second chances. At the reception, held at the lake house they now shared, Zach pulled Olivia away from the celebrations for a moment alone. "Happy?" he asked, his arms circling her waist. "More than I thought possible again," she replied honestly. "I've been thinking about something Ryan always said, that life's greatest moments come when you least expect them." He pressed his forehead against hers. He was right. As they rejoined their guests' friends from the grief group, mingling with business associates and literary figures, Olivia caught sight of their reflection in the lakehouse windows. Two people who had known profound loss, now laughing, dancing, embracing joy. Some losses changed you forever. But as Zachary pulled her into his arms for their first dance as husband and wife, Olivia knew that love could change you too, not by erasing the past, but by making the future possible again. In the soft light of the lake house, surrounded by those who had witnessed their journey, they began the next chapter of their unexpected story.